All right, so today we're going to talk about something that's pretty important, which is mapping what you like to do and what you are good at doing with what businesses want and need. And, you know, typically in business, the best thing to do is to start where the business is. What is the customer, where the customer is, what does the customer want and need, and then figure out how to give them that. You are sort of incidental to that equation. If what the customers need is lawn mowing or Uber or space travel, then your job as an entrepreneur is to figure out how to get it for them. The big skill that you have as an entrepreneur is being able to think and bring in other resources and bring in other people and think creatively about how to combine those things to give the customer what they need. That said, we're talking marketing and we're talking about small businesses. And small businesses have lots of different needs. So it's not a bad thing for us to do right now, which is to say, well, heck, let's think about what you like to do, what you're good at, and then let's see if we can map that to what customers need, clients need. Now, I'm going to start off with just identifying some of the common needs and wants of businesses. And you're going to see this is covering sort of some of what we talked about recently, because we were talking about what businesses and customers need. But then we want to just try to map it so that you can get a little clearer about what you have. Some of these things are things that you have that you value. You're like, I have a great sense of humor. I have a good sense of style. I love to write. I love movies. I have all these assets. And then the question is, how do you bring them together? Then the other thing is there are going to be assets that you have that you may not really value all that much. And it's a weird way of saying it, but you may not value the fact that you can go spend time doing things, right? If I say, listen, a business wants to have somebody spinning a sign on the road promoting their business, well, you have arms, you have legs, you have the ability to stand up and do things. It may not be what you want to do, but that's a mapping of something that you have, an asset that you have that maybe a client might be really interested in. And even just what you've been developing over the past couple of sessions is an asset, right? You now can think about a business, ask questions about a business, and so you are starting to be able to, in many cases, most businesses, what they want is they were like, I need somebody to tell me what to do. I need somebody to tell me whether I should do A, B, or C, and in what order. And that's something that you're developing. But let's sort of peel back and let's take a look at what are some things that businesses need. We talked about some of these, right? They certainly need and want promotion. They want exposure, right? They believe, most businesses believe, and they're right, that if more people knew about them, they would be able to do better business. To that end, they like introductions and connections. Whether that's introductions and connections to customers or clients, which really is promotion, or whether that is introductions and connections to other people who might be able to promote and provide them exposure. This is something that businesses want and need. They may not want it, and they may not think that they need it, but they need perspective and feedback, right? I got a call the other day from a friend of mine who's a real estate agent, and it wasn't from him, it was from one of the people that he hires to go around and check in on people. Well, my experience with that call wasn't great. It was fine, but it wasn't great. He needs that type of feedback, right? Because he needs to be able, he's got all these things going on. He needs to be able to take that feedback and use it to improve his business. People need, and a lot of people think of that this is what marketing is, but a lot of people need help with their messaging, right? They need to figure out what is it that they could say when they get in front of the customers or the prospects that would attract the right people. And messaging can be lots of things. It can be words. It can be brand, logo, style. It can be visual. It could be, we need a way of a commercial that brings the fact that we do dog poop pickup to life, right? So this could be advertising, it could be commercial, it could be ad, it could be whatever. Those are some things. Another thing, and this is really tied to the promotion, many businesses don't really either get social media as a tool for expanding their reach and increasing their exposure, or they get it, they just don't want to do it. The idea for them of spending all their time on their phone or spending all their time on their laptop, posting, checking in on things, liking stuff, is agony, okay? Even if they like doing it at home, they don't want to do it because they have business to run, they have customers to serve. So this is a place where if you, we'll do the mapping in a second, but this is a place where help with media, help with advertising and marketing. Other things, I did feedback. Messaging is really all encompassing. This could be anything having to do with how the business communicates. And then this is another thing that a lot of businesses need, but they may or not know that they want, which is just systems. Help with their systems. And that doesn't necessarily have to be creating systems. That might just be analyzing or even documenting their existing systems. If you went and talked to a bunch of businesses and asked them to diagram their intake and conversion system for how when they get a new prospect, how it turns into a customer, many businesses could not do that simple diagram of what they do. They just couldn't because it's haphazard, it's random, it's off the top of their head. Okay, so we've got these things. And one other thing that I want to throw in here is the concept, couple things which have to do really with promotion and exposure and introductions. If you like to create things, well, again, I'm getting ahead of myself in terms of the mapping, but let's just say events, content, networking. These are things that businesses tend to look at and say, oh, I like that. I need to go to an event where my prospective customers are. Or, oh, you've got some content that my prospective customers are interested in. I want to put ads on that. Or I want to put my ads on that. And then networking, because businesses value introductions and connections to other people who can promote and expose their businesses, networking feels valuable. I can go out and meet 10 other businesses and then I can develop my relationships with them. Okay, why is all of this important? All of this is important because fundamentally everything here, everything on this side of the line, on the column, you could provide. You know, whether you have a talent for words or messaging or style, or whether you have a talent for going out and introducing people, or a talent with social media, you could deliver these services to the businesses over here. They will value them, and as your competence increase, they will value you, and you can make a virtuous cycle of money. That said, why not? Because there's so much diversity here in terms of what you could do, why not have us focus on what are things that you like to do and map them over here. So let's take a look at some things that one might like to do. I'm getting killed over here. There's a stair. And we'll map it over here. So here are some things. You might really like social media. Right? You might really like going on to Pinterest or going on to Instagram or going on to YouTube, which is a little bit different than social media, or Facebook if you're, 48 years old, these types of things. And then there are lots of other social media that might be really, really interesting to your clients. but you may not have gotten there yet. For instance, Alignable or LinkedIn. These might be really valuable for your clients, but if you like that kind of world, that might be valuable. If you like graphics, design, illustrations, cartoons, that kind of thing, that could be very valuable because we can map that over to helping people with their style. Similarly, if you really like words, and I don't mean just liking to talk, I mean you like the power of words. You like, you like coming up with puns, or you like coming up with turns of phrases. Well, then you can be working with businesses to find different ways to express what they are trying to do. Now, that also could be a situation where if you just like to talk or you like to write, businesses constantly need content. They constantly want content. Because they know that if they're pushing content out into the world and if they're pushing content out to their list, then more people are seeing them, more people are interacting with them in a positive way. So whether it's words like fun with words, or whether it's just being a good writer, that is something that you can provide because you can help businesses with their messaging. Let's just say that you're social. Right? You are an outgoing, gregarious person. You like to meet people. You like to organize things. You like to be in front of people. Well, then you can become, in many cases, you could become what's called a proxy, right? A proxy is somebody who stands in for somebody else. You might think of it as an agent, right? You could be going around to a networking meeting and be a representative for a business, or you could be doing research at that networking organization for multiple businesses. I was at an event yesterday. If somebody was able to have gone to that event and I said to them, listen, pick up business cards, find out who's there, say these 4 sentences about my business, and I would love for you to give me a report back, and I will pay for you to go and give you money besides. Very interesting. And added benefit, you come out of that meeting with opportunities to provide potential projects for your clients. So social, but also if you're comfortable being in front of a room or in front of the camera, look at what I'm doing right now, right? There's no reason that you couldn't do some video like this for a particular business, describe the services or the promise, the problems that they solve, describe that, and be the spokesperson of that particular business. That could be here in a room with a camera, or it can be on location. You could also become the interviewer for another business, so you can be interviewing different businesses and then sharing those videos. So if you're comfortable in front of the camera or in front of people, lots of opportunities. And by the way, let's say you're horribly uncomfortable being in front of the camera, but you're good at writing. You could be writing the scripts. You could be writing the interview questions, the interview responses for all of this different content. So then that leads to things like, I'm going to just call them technical things, right? So let's say you're a video editor, special effects, PowerPoints, any kind of real enhancement on PowerPoints. I've seen some really cool things that really blow up PowerPoints, or people who make explainer videos, or any of these types of things. If you like that technical stuff, you like digging down and creating things, whether it's video, whether it's an application, right? Let's say that I run a home services business, like I'm a carpenter or something like that, and I want to have a calculator for customers where they can go in there and calculate how much a project would be. All right, I need somebody to develop that. That might be you. And let's say that you wanted a website developed, right? This could be a website from where you're doing hardcore coding, or it could be something where you're just going in and working with a fairly easy to use system like WordPress or Joomla or Drupal or something like that. So these are some of the options that you have in terms of if you're a technical type person. All right, so let's say that you don't really like to interact with people. You're not really a technical person. You don't really have any kind of style or graphical analysis. You like to keep yourself, you just like to stay focused. You like to have projects where you can do yourself. You hate group work. You hate that stuff. You just want a defined project. What you might be able to do is to do research and analysis. Because, for instance, I'm doing this right now. I have a project where I'm reaching out to find government contractors in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, because I want to contact them and offer them some services for one of the businesses I work with. Well, I need to go out there and Google, right? I need to go out there and research who are these businesses and who are their contact information, who do they work with, all this stuff that honestly, I don't like to do that at all. But if I have somebody who's like, I would love a defined project, 2 hours where I'm just spending time building this spreadsheet, database, etc., that sounds delightful. Now, the other piece of it is that that's just pure research. But let's say what it is analysis, right? Let's say I say to you, I've got a client that really wants somebody to go into their website and dig in deep and identify what are issues, make suggestions, all that kind of stuff. Maybe even testing links, does everything work? That's an hour project. It's a 2-hour project. That business is like, I would gladly pay $100 for a full report on my website. Well, let's say you spend 2 hours on that. That's $50 an hour. I mean, we haven't even talked about money in terms of that. But this is where if you can bring some competence and confidence to the table and you've mapped your skills, your interest with what they need and want, then that's a real win-win. All right, I think this might be a finish. No, I got a couple more. I'm going to erase just because I don't want to go too far down here. So let's say now the other piece, and this could be seen as really the fun piece. There's the creative. So let's say we go back to this concept of content, and people are saying, you know what? I have a great business. I am an attorney. I have a great business. I'm a personal trainer. These are your clients. And I just need for people to be able to discover me. Well, that's great. If they are out there looking for a personal trainer or an attorney, then you want them to be visible. We haven't even talked about like search engine optimization or anything like that, which is its own. We'll talk about, my video's shut off for a second. We'll talk about that, but we're talking about, search engine optimization and that sort of thing is a little farther down the road, but we'll be talking about that in terms of research analysis, content, putting those two things together. But let's just talk creative here. If you know who you want to get in front of, then the real question is, what are those people either looking for, interested in, or would be delighted to be introduced to? So you might be a personal trainer, but that doesn't necessarily mean that let's put it this way. If I knew that my target market was, which we'll talk about I think in the next session, if I knew that my target market were parents or moms 50 years and over, then I would be thinking, if I'm an advertiser or if I'm a business marketer, I'd be thinking, okay, where do those people go? Who do those people read? What do those people watch? Because that's where I would put my ad for my personal trainer business, right? Or my personal trainer, my business. So you can think in terms of that as well, because if you're a creative, you might think, hey, this is the stuff I like to create. I like to create short videos on YouTube. I like to create fun science fiction short stories. I like to create interviews. I like to have a talk show, and I want to have interviews. Well, then you have to be thinking, who is the market for my content? Who is going to be interested in my content? And then, and this is the big question, which just comes from really what we're talking about here, and we'll talk about at Marketing University, is who else is interested in those people? What businesses are interested in those people that you might be able to reach out to and have them be advertisers? Because now you're giving content that is attractive to the people that they want to get in front of, right? So that's what we're really talking about in terms of you being a creative. If you're a creative, let's say you're a YouTuber or you like music or you like sports or whatever, and you are creating cool stuff. If another business can see it and say,
that's going to be valuable for me, then you might be able to make some money, right? They might be able to, they'll go what's called monetize your efforts, your hobby. But if you can see, then you're the owner of the business. Then you're the one who can go out and create opportunities. So that's really what we're trying to do is I want you to be a creative with a marketing mind as opposed to just a creative. Last thing is events. Let's say that what you really like to do is create events. You love the idea of having parties. You love the idea of having celebrations. You love the idea of having performances or challenges or whatever. Well, events can be very, very positive for businesses, especially local businesses, right? If you went out here and created a community yard sale and you invited people from the community to participate, or a food truck event and you invited people from the community to participate, then you could get a lot of promotion for that particular event. And then there are other businesses who say, wait, who's going to be there? Who's seeing that marketing? I want to be in front of those people because I like promotion and exposure. All right, so that would be the category of maybe being like an event planner. Now, if you also just like doing things that happen at events, like you love sports, you love basketball, the idea of a 3-on-3 basketball tournament might sound super fun for you to participate in. Somebody else looks at that and says, oh, I would love to organize that. Somebody else who's really likes being in front of people says, oh, I want to go and advertise that or reach out and get sponsors for that, right? So these are the types of ways that you can plug in your interests, your skills into what businesses either currently want, right? That's the best place to start. What do they right now want and need? Or things that they would benefit from, for instance, events, content, and networking. All right, so that's the mapping question, all right? And we'll talk more later.